I like it when I get to see people who are objective, irrespective of party leaning. You're a member of the APC, and you're talking about so many other areas we are growing as a country. But I'm also trying to look at prioritizing some of these issues and the kind of energy we put into some of them. Sometimes I see in the House, no doubt, you talked about your leadership, we get to see how sometimes some committees, how they pursue some issues in the House. And one wonders why they don't put in that kind of energy when it comes to some other national issues, like the PIB, like the Constitution Amendment.
Well, the energy you put into legislative work is determined by a whole lot of factors. It's important, like I said, to know that certain processes are not events. You can't benchmark them by time frame. Because if you do, the chances are that you're sacrificing substance for timing. Nigerians want a constitution. We all agree on that because we believe the constitution we have is not ideal for our circumstance. How we get a new one is important. When we get a new one, I believe, is not as crucial as if we get a new one.
The words that you're using are also very important because you're talking about a new constitution as opposed to a constitution amendment, which is what a host of people believe the National Assembly can do. As to getting a new constitution, they believe that the process should be entirely different. What do you have to say about that? The choice of words deliberate?
Well, my choice of words are deliberate, yes. When I say new, my new is not the process that produces the document. It is what the end result. Yes, you call it amendment because that's what the law says we have powers to do. But what we're looking to do is to give Nigerians a new constitution, a different constitution, acceptable to Nigerians, a document that can properly read, we the people of Nigeria give ourselves, as opposed to the belief that what we have now is given to us or handed down to us by the military government that has usurped the powers of the people. And that's why a long time before now, we've been clamoring for a sovereign national conference.
Now, if that were the
conference that puts together all the ethnic groups in Nigeria and all the political, social, and economic interests in Nigeria under a roof, virtual or not, to discuss our existence and how we want to work together.
Now, if you say your choice of words are deliberate, I just want to remind you of the words of the minority leader in the House of Representatives, who said that, reminded us that the National Assembly doesn't have the power, so have to go through a constituent assembly, referendum and what have you, to be able to produce a brand new constitution. But it would seem that laced or underneath all of this was actually the idea to give us a new constitution. And that's what we're asking. Is that why there is no time frame placed, or is it deliberate that there's been a halt to wait for the national dialogue? Because we have seen both houses of the National Assembly, the Senate and the House of Representatives, embrace wholeheartedly the national dialogue, especially in the light of the revelation that it was still going to come to the National Assembly anyway, and they say the president is very much on point with that.
Well, like I said, I believe that as parliamentarians and representatives of the people, we have to be conscious and aware of our environment. We're not ignoring the fact that the executive has now started a process called the National Dialogue that is designed to impact on the Constitution.
What are your thoughts on that?
On the effort of the executive.
Yes, on the national dialogue.
I believe it's, well, like I said this earlier, that is a position that we have been championing for a very long time. we want a sovereign national conference. We're happy that people who are on the other side of the divide, who thought it was not necessary, who thought it was designed to achieve certain objectives, now are seeing the light. They're now converts and believing that, yes, we do need to sit down together. That's a plus, and I give them credit for that. The timing is the issue.
Is that the reason why the National Assembly is slow in terms of, moving on with its own constitution review process? Because you said the time frame is not important.
We're not slow. That's what I'm saying. We're not slow. We're not oblivious of the fact that the executive...
But you said there is no time frame, that if, the events or the process is not as important as the time frame.
We are more concerned about doing a good job within this legislative life, which is the 7th National Assembly. We have an intention to conclude this amendment process within this legislative year. Otherwise, our colleagues in the 8th Assembly would have to take up or follow from wherever we live. We want to do it this Assembly, and that's our intention. That's our time frame.
But going with the space, are you sure that we'll be able to achieve it?
I believe so. I believe that this 7th Assembly would conclude the amendment.
Let me read this tweet out to you. Sorry, Mark, because this one here is, his Twitter handle is Adeyinka. He says, please tell us, as we speak, oil is the mainstay. So the House should pass the PIB. Other sectors are not our priority. You talked about agriculture, trying to look at all the mainstay of the economy. And he says, well, the PIB is the main thing. That as long as this is not passed, because he had to send another one, that, is the oil, the NNPC will be nothing more than a conduit for politicians.
Well, the PIB is very important. I'd mentioned that. It would create a lot of space for the oil sector of Nigeria to evolve in a way that is profitable to the nation, not to individuals. To that extent, yes, it's important. But because of that fact that it is important, it's been dragging on for a while because there are so many interests and intrigues hovering around the bill. And if you don't pull them out separately and deliberately, you're likely to have a PIB remain a PIB, not an act. And it is the process of taking away those fears, ensuring that interests are not personal, but national, that is causing a lot of delays, not the process of passing the act itself. We went through a process of not actually knowing what bill was being presented. Apparently there were adulterated versions of the bills. There were several interests who produced their own versions and were parading them in public as the PIB.
All right. How does the House view its performance regarding its oversight functions, especially when you hear some pleasantries about some of those agencies? There are people complaining about they want 100% completion of the East-West Road. The NDDC, no, that's not.
Yes,
is that the NDDC?
yeah,
You're a member of that committee. Then they look at developments in aviation. They hear lots of stories. You're also a member of that committee. And then they look at the MDGs, and then
new members, 1/3 of the Parliament, of the Senate, is up for grabs, is up for re-election every 2 years. What that does to the system is it ensures that you have experience and continuity in government as far as Parliament is concerned. When you have that, you build a critical mass or significant mass of expertise, capacity that is necessary to work as parliamentarians and do those things that you've mentioned. In Nigeria, unfortunately, we're still trying to sort ourselves out in terms of rotation. We're talking about rotation. We're talking about, I represent 3 local governments, for example, and we still have a mindset of this local government has done. It's the turn of this local government. So this man, whether he's good or not, whether he has learned the ropes and will be valuable to the constituency, his time is up. He's got to go. The next man comes and is learning the ropes, fresh. He's a rookie. And next 4 years, another man comes. Until, as Nigerians, we begin to see parliament and parliamentarians as serious business and serious work, and follow the principle of the Constitution that doesn't attach any tenure. You can be there for life. Until we begin as Nigerians to understand that legislators need to have capacity. Even agencies of government are at a loss. They're relating to you as chairman of a committee for 4 years. They've developed your capacity to work with them, to oversight them properly. You've developed a relationship, harmonious relationship. But by no fault of yours or the executive, your constituents say, sorry, your time for this local government is up, you've got to move. The next man, fresh man comes. Where does he get the capacity from? Where do you take your knowledge that you've built in the last 4 years, where do you take it to? That's something that is crucial in legislators performing their oversight functions the way they should be performed. We need to have capacity. We believe that the parliament should be empowered to develop the necessary capacity to perform these oversight functions, not by emotions or sentiments, but based on knowledge.
Okay. Does the House have the capacity, and what should we expect this year in terms of those items that are on the exclusive legislative list?
Well, of course, we keep building capacity. This parliament has 100 members that have returned or have some form of legislative experience at the national level, out of the House of Reps, out of 360. One would expect that those 100 members should give some form of stability. The greater the number, the better it will get. So in performing our legislative functions, as far as the exclusive legislatively goes, yes, of course, we do have legislative competence to do that. Capacity, well, it's relative, it's subjective. Capacity is
because we
building
have some governors who have complained that, look, while we're waiting on so many items that are on the concurrent list, look, there are some that the National Assembly can actually legislate upon without necessarily waiting for the executive to sponsor a bill or something.
Oh, yeah. Well, we don't wait at all times for executives to sponsor bills. They're executive bills. Those are executive bills. The majority of our bills are sponsored by members.
Performance
I don't have the
security
figures.
agencies, defense, so many loopholes. But, okay, we'll have to leave it there. We're really out of time on this one. And thank you for coming on, Honorable Adeyinka Ajayi, who is the Chairman House Committee on AIDS, Loans and Debt Management. I hope we don't have a challenge with our debt management situation in the country at the moment, do we?
No, we don't. We don't have problems with debt management. We have our fingers on the debt management. Issues are not related to management of debt. We have issues, but it's not in relation to the management of the debt.
Okay, which actually is in your purview.
That is my purview.
Thank you for coming on this morning. We're back in just a moment. Don't go away.